A very warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from wherever in the world you might be hailing from. Welcome to Djuma in the Sabi Sands. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by Fergus over there on camera, and we're out again in the heart of South Africa to search for wonderful things and amazing sightings just for you. Please feel free to send through your questions at #SafariLive. Follow us on YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to see. I'm out this afternoon with Brent, who is driving, as well as Tayla, who's on bushwalk, and who knows what we're going to find. There was reports of an alarm call in this area earlier this morning. We're just sort of west of Galago Lodge, which is just sort of close to the DRC where we live. So we're just following up in this area, see if there's anything. I've just had a little look for some tracks here, but nothing of yet. But we're excited. We've had some rain. It rained all of last night. Some marvelous conditions. I had the morning off, so I was quite fortunate to sleep in and not get too wet, while the others had to slave away with a whole lot of technical issues this morning, which we do apologize for. So jump on board, fasten your seatbelts, let us know what you'd like to see. We're in store for a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. So when there's been rain, quite often you don't get animals moving too much because there's water all over the place. But when you do find tracks, you can tell the freshness because we know when the rain fell. So that's what we're looking for. And while we do that, let's go over to Brent Leo Smith, who's found some tracks.
Welcome, welcome, hello, hello. What a wonderful, beautiful afternoon it is. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Senzom keys from Maritzburg on the back of the vehicle, so it's the boys from the Barra looking for the Hukumuri. So I'm going to look for Hukumuri or Hukumuri. Oh, I see, and some of you have started calling him Hukumuri's son. So we're going to see if we can find the brawler, the patroller, and see what he's been up to during the day. It's possible he moved quite a bit after we left him this morning. But I'm going to go to where we last had him, hopefully. He's on the cruise. Remember, #SafariLive on Twitter if you have any questions for us. Otherwise, you can just pop it below whichever feed you are watching on, and the questions should get to us. So, no news on Thandi or Tlalamba today. Not yet. Of course, tracks were very difficult to come by this morning after that nice little thunderstorm we had last night, and I was very, very happy to find fresh Hukumuri tracks this morning and nearly stand on him while we were following them. But hopefully we're going to have the same sort of luck today. So the last place I had Hukumuri was just up here, and he was heading down towards Pangolin Track. What was that? Squirrel, what are you shouting at? So, knowing Hukumuri, he could be anywhere around here. Now let us try find the offending squirrel. You see it, Sense? No. That was shouting away. Now, of course, it stopped shouting. What were you going on about, squirrel? Oh, I don't know what's happened. Oh, there we go. What's happening there, Sens? We're having a bit of a camera problem, it seems. We're not sure what's going on. We're going to try troubleshoot it. There we go. Well done. No? Okay, while we try to figure out what's happening with our camera, let's send you to Tayla to say good afternoon.
Oh my goodness, Zenzel, sure, what a way to start the day. Good luck with the gremlins, and I hope you fix your camera. However, this little lizard, it looks actually it might be a skink. It does not seem to be having the greatest of great days this afternoon, as it is being devoured by ants. Very, very sad. It might be a lizard, in fact. I don't quite know what it is. It's got a very long tail. Maybe a little bushveld lizard or something of sorts. But nothing goes to waste in the bush, as you know. My name is Tayla McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig, a.k.a. Batman. Call him what you will. Anyways, and then there's something really cool I want to show you. Craig, no. You have to show everybody now. I want to show you. Craig is trying something new out this afternoon, and he wants to get more comfy so that when he needs to get the shots that count, he doesn't fall unsteady. Look at that. That is some high-tech kit right there, hey? That is an old mouse pad Craig is now using. So his knee it's quite sore when putting it on the ground. Okay, I'm just teasing, Craig. You can go now. He didn't want to show you. Anyways, but I just want to actually have a look here. Where's this? I don't want to move it too much, but I don't know what would have killed this little, I think it is a little bushveld lizard of sorts, and it doesn't seem to have gone into complete rigor mortis just yet. I mean, the tail's still pretty bendy. Oh, the feet look like maybe it was molting as well, or slothing, should I say, shedding its skin. And it does look to be quite young, and they do need to shed their skin quite often. Now, ants like this, just like hyenas and vultures, can completely decimate a carcass quicker than you'd ever be able to imagine. I think they've been working on this for most of the morning. And I reckon tomorrow there won't be anything left at all. This is so cool. Now, that's pretty epic. Craig, should we show them the other hole that we found? Lynn, the differences between a lizard and a skink? I don't know. There's much difference between them. I actually don't think I've ever seen a chart in any of my books talking about the differences exactly, but I shall have a look for you, Lynn, to find out exactly the differences. But this is definitely made by a lizard. Perhaps a female, maybe looking for a spot to lay eggs. Sometimes lizards will bury their eggs underground. And it looks like maybe she was in there. Very busy today. We used to watch the agama lizards do that quite a bit in Kenya. They always would dig around on the rocky pathways. So the reason why we've come down this very sandy road is to sort of follow up on the alarm calls that Steve was telling you about. We have a suspicion that it might be hukumuri. So Herbie has decided that we should maybe have a little look around here and check these sandy roads, because there's some nice big animal pathways around here, and not too far away from where Brent actually had hukumuri last. So we'll have a little squiz. If we don't find any tracks, then we're going to head a little bit further to the north to where those alarm calls were actually coming from. But off we go to Steve. He's able to move a lot quicker than I am, as he's in the car. Let's go see if he's found any of those tracks.
Oh, dearie me. What has Steve done? He's broken his audio. We're trying to see if the last place I had hukumuri was walking in this general direction, but in the block there. So I'm just trying to see if I can see tracks. It's very difficult to see tracks after the rain. It's quite hard. Now, the difference, I know Taylor was looking at a skink earlier. There is a difference between a lizard and a skink. Skinks have much smaller legs and no pronounced neck, a very non-pronounced neck, and certain skink species have no legs at all, while all lizard species, if I remember correctly, all have legs. Let me just have a quick look on the other side. Now I wonder if hukumuri went towards Tree House Dam and didn't actually come out onto this road. Even if he did, seeing tracks on here, we would actually want him to actually walk where the car's been, because then at least I can see. And those car tracks were here this morning. So if we do find any tracks on top of that, those are from today. Now, the main reason I want to find good old Hukumori is he's still hungry, so there's a good chance he'll be on the hunt this evening. There's also a strong chance he might have kept walking for that cool 1 or 2 hours after drive. And sometimes you're looking for just the faintest little mark. Now, remember, for those of you who are not sure, this is, yes, indeed, 100% live. This is Africa Live. You're on your very own game drive. And with moment, I'm looking for a big male leopard called Hukumuri, who I followed this morning. It's quite warm now, so he could be snoozing somewhere in the shade. Now, let me just have a quick look at this road junction. It's always a good place to look for tracks. And I'm just going to be concentrating on the ground for a little bit, so that's why I'm not looking at you. But there's a lot of different theories when it comes to mourning in wildlife. Bucheron hero, but do big cats mourn? I suppose they do in a way. Now, I've watched a female leopard, his cub got killed and half eaten by a male leopard, find the corpse of the cub, then yet continuously call, then pick up the corpse, eat the corpse, and then still walk around for 2 days in the area where the cub was calling. So I think they do mourn, but probably more of an instinctive thing, because their body, their hormones are still producing milk, etc., and stuff like that. But almost immediately afterwards, they'll come into estrus and start mating again after they've lost cubs. Okay, no sign of the Hukumori coming out down there just yet. But as I say, it's quite easy to miss tracks in this terrain. Okay, well, it seems like Steve has fixed his audio problems, so let's go see what he's up to.
Yes, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. My mic that attaches to my back here was getting a bit itchy. I think I twisted it. My apologies. Here we have got the mud. And those of you who were with us last night, we looked at these mud wallows and there was nothing left in here at all. But have a look at the level. This was up to here at some point last night. It has since gone down the drainage system there, and you can actually see how the grass is benefiting. So this is just an accumulation of mud that's come from the rain. It's a sort of a little wallow on the side of the road here, and there's lots of activity over here. You can see the activity of warthogs that have come down probably to try and drink the mud, not the mud, but the water, and then this gets dislodged, and you can see how this is breaking, and more is breaking, and slowly but surely this gets bigger and bigger and bigger until we've essentially got a dam. A natural-made dam, which is part and parcel of what works in this ecosystem. Warthogs, buffalo, elephant, rhinoceros. If you know anything about the rhinoceros's territory, the white rhino, he needs to have a number of these mud wallows within his territory as the health spa for the females that like to come in. And you know, ladies, you've been to the health spa before in your life. It's nice to cover yourself in mud and to sort of look after yourself. So without these, he will not attract the ladies. So these are very important in the ecosystem. But other than that, the tracks I was looking at before that I wanted you to see, we've passed on by, but it was a beautiful big track of a male giraffe. It was probably about that sort of size, and you're kind of slipping in the sand, in the mud like that. It's very difficult for hooved animals to walk around in the mud because their feet actually slide. They don't have the same sort of grip that we have, and they actually slip and slide. So quite often after rainfall, they'll stay somewhere far away from water because there is water, and they'll just feed and stay there until the ground surface gets nice and hard. Times I've seen in the past where giraffe have actually gone into the mountains when it's rained because it's much easier underfoot for an animal that weighs 1,500 kilograms. It's very hard to walk around when it's muddy. Okay, Ferg, let's carry on. It's also quite tricky, though. Ow. Got to watch out for the little thorny plants on the side of the road. It's quite tricky on the ground though after the rain has fallen. Now you can have a look in the road there, Ferg, where how the water has been sort of coming down the road, and something known as sheet erosion. The objective is to try and keep that moisture off the road to prevent bad erosion happening on the road. But it happens, and what that's done with the rain is it's washed away all the old and brought in for the new. So all the tracks that we find now are fresh, but it's quite difficult to find leopard tracks on the soft sand unless it's quite deep, because their feet are quite gentle. They walk quite softly, so you're basically looking just for a scuff. You're not really looking for a hoof mark, because a hoof goes into the track, into the soil itself. But a leopard track is just gentle, like when you walk around with socks on. It doesn't really make much of a mark, because as you know, when leopards walk, they don't use their claws. So a dog would be easy to track in this, but a leopard is tricky, very tricky. But we keep our eyes open. But what I love about the rain is it brings in the freshness. We're going to see some more wildflowers. I'm sure some of the grasses will flower again. Some of the fruits will berry again. The whiteberry bush, I think it's in its third fruiting already, which is marvelous because it's one of my favorite foods out here. Even though we do get fed very, very well. Djuma, Happiness is our chef, and she cooked the most amazing lunch for us this afternoon. So, Nix, I didn't 100% get that. Something about warthogs and waterholes. Warthogs, they don't destroy waterholes. They actually need water to survive. And mud wallows like that are very, very important for them because it covers their body. It keeps them nice and cool. They've got quite a small body in comparison to some of the larger animals. And so they can overheat quite easily. So they cover themselves to protect them against the sun, to cool them down as well, and also to keep away the biting flies and suffocate any ticks. You'll often find warthogs, after they've wallowed in the mud, they'll then go up to a tree and they'll scratch themselves on there, and you often can find ticks dislodged on the tree itself where they've been scratched off and embedded in the mud. Okay, well, let's go to Tayla, who's found a very small creature with 6 legs.
We found a very small, big creature, in fact, Steve. It is a velvet ant, and they're really cool to see. And this one is huge. I'm not going to go anywhere near it because I really don't want to disturb it. And I reckon this could be the biggest one I've ever seen. You can see it's got beautiful markings on its body. It's quite a pretty color. It's sort of got a black head, and then its abdomen is sort of a reddish color, almost rust, if you will. And then at the back, on their thorax, you can see 2 white spots and a couple of sort of stripes further down. They're white, and then the rest of the thorax is actually black. So seriously contrasting colors, indicating that it is indeed, well, in this case, they're venomous. And this is a female. This is the female version. The males do have wings and are slightly smaller, and she will sting you. So she's not going to bite you, but she's going to sting. Now, you get different types of velvet ants all over the world. I reckon there's a couple of thousand of them, in fact. What is this? Is this the male? I'm looking. No, it's not. Something else. And you would not want to get that, you'd not want to get stung by one of them. I've never been stung by a velvet ant before, but what I'm going to do is I want to show you against my, what are we going to use for scale? My hand. Let's see. There we go. So, Ravinda, you complimenting Craig's camera work? Yeah, he's pretty amazing. He's not too shabby, eh? So that's how big it is in comparison to my hand. Now, it's still, I mean, you're looking at it and you're going, oh, Taylor, that's quite small. But that's the biggest one I've ever seen. That is huge. Really, really quite cool, in fact. I don't know why it's frozen like that. If it's terrified, Craig and I are thinking maybe it's, you know, going to freeze. Now, something we've just talked about, Carla, is whether the male and female sting or bite, and the females actually have little stingers and will zap you like a normal wasp. They just don't have wings. I don't think the males have got any stingers at all. In fact, I think that they're completely harmless. It's just the females. But that is so cool. All right, we'll let it go. I don't know why it's frozen like this all of a sudden. And I did have its tracks, but I have a feeling I may have squashed them now. There were tiny little tracks in the sand. Now I think I've squashed them. Greg, you can leave your mouse pad behind. I'll get it for you. There we go. Knee pad. Very nice. Bye-bye, Velvet Ant. Hopefully it doesn't get eaten by anything. Hornbill would find that absolutely delicious. So Herbie's gone up a little bit further, but still no luck just yet. So I think what we're probably going to do is we're going to get to the Balanites tree, Craig's favourite tree on the whole property. And from there I think we'll turn back and probably cut through this block and jump on one of the big animal pathways. The grass is so tall here at the moment. There's lots of thatching grass, especially on the western side, sort of taller than your head. Now, of course, that's not what we want. We don't want to be walking in grass that's sort of taller than your head, because you can walk into anything. So we're just going to stick to the road for the minute until we can find a decent pathway. Scenic ants are very important to the ecosystem for a number of different reasons, kind of like termites. They help decompose things, so if there's a dead animal around, ants are often one of the first animals to get on it. Well, after, not the first, but vultures and hyenas normally. But ants will follow flies, all those different types of things. So they'll help get rid of rotting carcasses, vegetation they clean up. They're a good source of food. A lot of animals will eat them. I mean, birds and things definitely do rely on feeding on ants and termites. And well, I keep hearing things, but it might just be the wind sort of rustling. So you actually need lots and lots of termites around there. They're very, very good for the ecosystem. What else have we got here? All these, do you know that this area here, there used to be massive animal pathways all going down into this drainage, but they've all overgrown now. Obviously not being used as much. And I don't know why that is, if it's just because there's so much water around at the moment that, you know, they don't all need to use the same ones that go straight to the watering hole. There's lots of mud wallows and things that have filled up, which is pretty cool. It also makes it difficult though when you're trying to find animals, because you never know where to look. There's just water all over the show. Anyways, we're going to catch up to Herbie, who's just up ahead, and see what his verdict is, if he has seen any decent tracks. And then, well, we'll get back to you. Off we go, back across to Brent.
Well, we're just doing a quick patrol around Treehouse Dam, and said the roads are so hard. So what happens is the rain compacts them, and then after a day like today where it got hot, it sort of bakes them, so they're very hard. So an animal like a leopard, which isn't that heavy and walks very lightly, and the tracks are just tiny little scuffs really. So we're just going to check very, very carefully. And there's a very strong possibility that he's still having a nap in that block where we left him. I just want to double check first. Now, we had some decent rain last night, quite late in the season. Judy, whether it's enough to get through winter, I don't know. Now, you must realize that this is an arid area. It's not a high rainfall area. So, winter gets tough for the animals every year. Even very seldom is there massive rains that'll carry all the pans and whatnot through winter. And that's the nature of the ecosystem. It operates like that on purpose. What was that? Oh, it's okay. Okay. So I'm going to check here where we might see some of that. It was just something falling out of the toolbox that we keep on the car. So I'm a bit dirty today. As we drove out, there was an incredibly irritating rattle on the front right tire, so I jumped down to see what it was. And those of you who've ever worked on cars will know about brake dust covers. Now, yes, they're quite useful in certain parts, but on these vehicles that never really go very fast and never go anywhere, all they end up doing is getting bent and twisted and rattling and irritating me. So what had happened is little slots had come out, so I had to bend the steel back into place to put it in. And unfortunately, after my nice shower before game drive and my clean shirt, I managed to look like I've been in a workshop all day in about the space of about 3 minutes. I'm very good at that for some reason though. Some people always look like very well turned out. Mr. Fashion Monkey Mkeez behind me. He's a fashion icon. He always looks like he's dressed to the nines. However, I always mostly look like I'm coming out of a workshop. I don't understand. It's like Steph on bushwalk. He can keep his shirt tucked in the whole bushwalk. And keep his hands clean. I, however, get completely filthy completely quickly. Do not understand. It is just one of those things. Anyway, I might jump off the car and have a quick look at the last spot where I left Hukumuri. There's no tracks coming out, so let's go see what Steve's up to.
Thanks. Sorry about that, folks. We had a nice look at a white crest. There we go, another one. A group of white-crested helmet shrikes jumping around in the bushes here, and they are now making themselves very hard to see. There's one just in the back there. You just get a glimpse of his backside. Very, very cool bunch of birds. And they've moved off to the tree just behind Ferg. I don't know if you can see. There we go. There's one in the middle of your frame. There we go. Got him. Hello. Now, they live in family groups. They're cooperative breeders. Beautiful yellow wattle around the eye. And this beautiful little crest, white crest on the front. Now, I know we didn't get a very good look at them. There we go. There's another one. Hopefully we can get a look at that wattle on the eye. Ah, just down. They're very difficult birds to frame. But there you go. Middle of the frame, Fergie. There he is. I don't know if you can hear them calling there. I like to refer to them as the Star Wars bird because they actually make that sound of the sort of the laser guns that they shoot in Star Wars. And seeing as we have them there and they're playing such a good game with us, I might actually call them for you. And then hopefully they'll come out and show us themselves in a little bit of better light. They will come back with... Ferg says they've gone miles away, but let's have a little play. Let's see. Yeah, the lasers. They'll come flying back. They come over the head. We just had a flyby. Okay, well, let me show you a nice picture of them on the dashboard here. How's that light? Here they are, beautiful helmet shrikes. See that beautiful yellow wattle on the eye and that white crest on the head. They apparently use that crest for collecting spider webs, which they use to knit and to wrap around their web. Not their web, their nest, which works in twofold. First of all, it acts as a binding agent to keep the web together, and second of all, any ants or parasites that might try and get in and affect the youngsters will also get trapped in that web. So, a beautiful, beautiful bird. Here is a counterpart on the right, the Retz's helmet shrike, which we also find here. Both very, very similar in everything that they do. The only difference is that these birds sort of occur in the mid to lower regions of a tree when they come to feeding, and the Retz's, they feed high up in the canopy. So it's there. That's the niche partitioning that these two exhibit and enables them to live within the same habitat together. Okay, fantastic, Ferg. Okay, well, we're going to move on from our position here. Let's go back over to Tayla on Bushwalk and see what small insects she now has for you.
Crime scene investigations number 2 for the afternoon. Locust versus car tire. Car tire won, and now the ants are taking care of the mess, unfortunately. And it's not great that we have... Hang on, Craig, look at this. This is so funny. Look at this ant here. Look how it's got another little ant attacking it. I don't know if they're the same species of ant. They're probably a couple of different species trying to fight over that carcass. But it is not letting go. It's biting it. You can see, look how this ant is sort of... looks like it's struggling or a bit frustrated. What are you trying to do? I'm sorry that someone's got your leg. You're still able to move pretty quickly. Just taking it along for the ride. Maybe it's Dad going to work, and the little one doesn't want to see his dad go. No, I'm just joking. That's not what's happening here, but it would be a nice story. Hey, isn't that an option for a Disney movie right here? Don't you think, Craig? Anyways, I would like to actually come back here tomorrow morning and try and have a look to see if this locust is still going to be here. But again, those ants are just going to devour that locust very, very quickly. So there we go. I mean, they're so important. Otherwise, we just have dead things lying on the side of the road, and a vulture and a hyena is probably not going to eat that. Maybe a hyena. I feel like they sometimes put their noses to the ground and just smell anything and eat it. I've seen them do that long. So once watched them, one walking down the road, and there was a dead nightjar. Oh, I ate that up, no problem, loved it. Feathers and all. Thought it was delicious. So that was quite cool. I'm just seeing if we can find anything else on the edge of the grass. I'm still trying to find those ticks, which I thought we'd see a lot of after the rain. Now, speaking of ticks, Joanne, yes, I do spray myself to prevent ticks and, well, other biting things. Craig and I both do it, and Herbie as well. We'll just take the can of whatever repellent it is. I normally concentrate, especially around my ankles, and also where your pants sort of touch your leg. I just find that they get onto your clothes pretty easily, and then they crawl around. So I make sure to spray all my exposed parts, and then also for mosquitoes, because we do have malaria out here. Obviously, it's not prevalent in this area. But you can get it, of course, so we try and be careful. So not only for the ticks, but for the biting flies too. What a nuisance. Because, you know, it's sometimes really awkward to walk and swat. What's up, Herbie? What have you seen? Nothing. Herbie's shy today. Why are you so shy? We almost had to throw bones earlier. Herbie and I were trying to decide. He said to me, Tayla, which way should we go to try and find Hukamuri? And I went, I don't know. And he said, no, you must decide. He says, we're either going to go that way. So I was sort of putting feelers out, and he laughed. He said, let's just throw bones. We should have thrown bones to have decided. Maybe we would have found the leopard by now if we threw the bones, if we listened to the ancestors. But we didn't. We normally do, hey? Herbie's always good. He's always got a pocket full of something somewhere that he can whip out and do something magical with. It's very impressive. I wish that I could find odd things, like a rock that I thought was nice and I've forgotten to put it in my rock jar. Then it just ends up in my pants in the washing machine. Sometimes a common one is scrub hair dung. That I find in my clothes all the time because I always use it to test the wind, you know. So it's a bit weird sometimes. When I go home, my mum has a heart attack. Did he go north? Have we got a track? Herbie. Finding the tracks. There you go. Of a leopard. But like, oh yeah, look, that's a nice one here. Moving quickly, Herbie? I think he was marching. So going north, going this way, like that. Leave a smiley face for Brent. Do that properly. But like Brent said, the ground is exceptionally hard. It's sort of got this layer of icing, if you will. This top layer is terrible. So even when somebody has walked in, you can see this is very, very fresh. There's very little disturbance on this track. No good. So I think that those alarm calls that Herbie heard earlier today, where Steve is looking, is the area that we need to go and check. So what we'll probably do from here is we'll go along Balanites, jump on an animal pathway. The grass is quite short on Impala Plains, not like it here. You really don't want to be walking in this. I mean, look at all of this over here. It's very thick with all sorts of bush willows growing around and very, very tall grass. We're not necessarily worried about the cats, but it's the buffalo that could be lurking about, or a rhino, or even a hippo. It's hot, but the sun's not too strong today. Anyways, we're going to carry on, and Herbie will update Brent, but off you go, across to Brent to see if he's moved to a different area.
Well, that's very interesting now. I'm just going to chat to Herbie quickly. So he's almost exactly where I found Hukamuri's tracks first this morning. Herb, confirm tracks heading north, not east. Did you see the tracks heading east? Well, it could be Hukamuri. He does move incredible. Because the first encounter I had this morning were at Zoe's junction with Balanites heading east. He did come back north a little bit, chasing warthogs, then went north along, he went north along Zoe's and then went into the block to the east. yeah, it's the same track, so I'm just trying to make sure Herbie's not. Yeah, there you go. So they're going to leave those tracks and head straight to the east. So that'll make a lot more difference. Those are the tracks of us following Hukumuri this morning when we found him there. So what he did is we found him, he was heading east, then he spotted those warthogs and he came back sort of west, and then he went north on Zoe's, up to the top of a termite mound, spotted the warthogs again, and then went into that thick area. So, yeah, as I said, it's pretty sure, and hyena, they were following the old tracks. They're not old, they're from this morning. Now, of course, we've been seeing a lot of hyenas with that elephant carcass around. Paula, we have no idea where the den is. We can only tell you it's emphatically not on Djuma. So it is either in the Manyeleti or in Buffelshoek, but it is definitely not on Djuma at the moment, unfortunately. Hyenas move dens quite regularly, so they might come back on to Djuma in not too long. We're just going to have to wait and see. Ngora, the bush isn't that much quieter since the elephant carcass has quietened down. It's actually probably more due to the rain than anything else. The hyena and vulture activity, yes, has quietened down, but the leopards and the leopards are around. The lions haven't been around for a while. I would say it's actually just with the rain, it makes it a little bit harder for us to find the animals, but I wouldn't say the bush is any quieter than normal. Okay, so as I said, I'm just double checking the peripheries, making sure Hukumuri hasn't moved out of that area. I think he's probably sleeping in there. So I'm going to just quickly check our far boundary, and then we're going to go across to Steve now quickly with its little antelope.
Yes, we have found the littlest antelope around, and those of you who are new to the show, believe it or not, that is a fully grown male steenbok, who's doing a little bit of a twitchy dance, one leg at a time, is listening very intently. The name steenbok is actually translated from Afrikaans to basically mean brick or stone in color, and bok is the name for antelope. There's a male, you can tell that by the sharp horns, and when he stands very, very still, to a predator's eye, he is invisible. Now, after the rains we had last night, I'm just commenting to Ferg a few moments ago how there's already a green flush in the grass with quite a nice day of sunshine. The grass is all flushing a green again. Small little shoots on the plants, and the forbs will probably be coming up again, and the steenbok will be making best use of that with his very small mouth parts, able to pick and select the most tastiest and succulent of the plant parts that are coming forward. And a little shake of the body. He probably got very wet last night. It's taken the whole day to dry. Debbie, the grass loses condition quite quickly. As soon as it starts getting dry, it'll lose a lot of its nutrients. Basically, what the grass does itself is once the rainfall goes, because without rainfall there's no potential photosynthesis, so the green goes away and the plant takes its nutrients into the roots. Animals like steenbok are able to actually dig up tubers and bulbs, and they can actually feed on certain plant roots. But there's always enough very small particles for a steenbok to selectively feed on. But the larger grass particles will be very, very tough and fibrous, and probably within the next month or so, it really depends on rainfall, but without rain, the grass will dry pretty quickly, and only the really, really sort of new shoots is what these animals go for, and these are often found hidden underneath branches in the shade of trees. So it has a lot of work needed to go around for the steenbok to find only the best parts of those plants. But they are here all year round. and their territory size will be determined by the quality of the food resource in that area. Ravinda, I was thinking something quite similar before. There is a tail. Ravinda's wondering, why is there no tail? There is a tail. It's plastered to its bottom quite tightly. Every now and again you'll see it will wag its tail, and when it defecates it raises that tail. But the tail held very flat on the bottom also helps it to maintain temperature, and also helps it to keep any of the biting flies from the very sensitive parts around the anus of the steenbok. And so that's why you don't. There it is. Oh, he just missed it behind the tree. A little bit of a tail shake. Do a bit of a shook its tail there. Did you see? A friend of mine down in the garden route, name's Kerr, loves to go and party, and she says go shake a tail. And then we know we're going to go do a little bit of a dance. Those of you out there who like to dance. Paula, I don't think that antelope have any form of down fur to keep them warm. The fur that you see is the fur that they have, and they have the fur here. I mean, those of you who watch the show will notice that the animals up in the Mara seem to be a little bit more shaggy in their coat than the animals down here, because they have a more sort of stable climate. It maintains itself at pretty much the same temperature, whereas here we've got our hot summers and our very cool winters. So the animals have got a certain amount of fur. They will lose some, I suppose, but they don't have any down fur at all. Here they maintain their heat by sitting in the sunshine, and when it is cold they will obviously maintain the heat. When it's cold they sit in the sun, and when it's very hot they use the shelter of the trees, which is what keeps them warm. So they've got their fur throughout the year. You see he's probably warming up a little bit, so he's now standing in the shade. Steenbok have got a phenomenal feeding. They will actually go throughout the entire night with probably half an hour feeding, half an hour ruminating, half an hour feeding, half an hour ruminating, constantly active. And during that rumination period, when they're digesting and chewing the cud, they are actually resting and sleeping. That is the only sleep that they get. They'll never practically put their head down and go to sleep while they're ruminating and chewing the cud. That sort of meditative state takes over, and the body rests in the rumination sort of pose with the legs tucked underneath. Eloise, that's a very good question. Lifespan of steenbok, off the top of my head, I'm stumped. I would say probably between the ages of 8 and 10, I would say at the most, probably less. It's probably less than that, to be honest, but I am not sure for the life of me right now. I'm sure Brent would have the answer to that, but I would say between 6 and 8 years, perhaps, give or take. Coco, I haven't seen a grysbok yet in Djuma. They tend to, in my opinion, like sort of semi-rocky slopes. There's no rocky slopes here at all. So in places in the past that I've worked that have got, sorry about my bird call going off there. Places that I've worked in the past that have got sort of rocky slopes with sort of quite more thicker bush, you find grysbok. Whereas here, where the duiker lives in sort of riverine areas with thicker bush, the steenbok likes, and I'm going to get Ferg to pan out here for you and give you sort of a look to the left here of what the steenbok likes. This is the kind of habitat that they like. It's bushy, but it's pretty open in comparison to what the duiker likes. And as you look there, you can see that it's quite patchy. There's sparse grass. There's a few trees and forbs around, but it's not dense. But when we look where the duiker's habitat is, it's very dense, more riparian, so more like sort of around the riversides, whereas Sharp's grysbok, in my opinion, like more sort of rocky areas where there's a few slopes, and also that bush is a little bit denser. That is my opinion, and that's just what I've seen in the past, but I've yet to see a grysbok here in the Sabi Sands. But I'm sure they do exist. Let's go over to Brent, and he is busy driving.
Well, hello, we're still just triple checking that Hukumuri hasn't crossed out. He hasn't so far, which is good news. And the lifespan of a steenbok's about 8 years in the wild. So about 8 years in the wild for a little steenbokkie. Is that a squirrel making a noise? Ah, that's why. Now, there are Kreisbok do occur in the Sabi Sands. I've seen a few. They generally prefer slightly rockier areas. Londolozi, the Mangen Valley, and also the eastern side of Singita. I've seen Kreisbok in both those spots. And it was a couple of about 2.5 years ago, Jos saw a Kreisbok in Buffelshoek. No such luck. Okay, so no sign of Hukumuri doing the disappearing dance. So that's good news. He could be right near where I left him this morning. Now, leopards, being very adaptable, Mina, do live in close proximity to human beings. There have been leopards recorded on the outskirts of Johannesburg, in Durban, Table Mountain in Cape Town, but probably the greatest example of leopards living in amongst a mass of humanity is in India. And they've become very specialized. They live in very tiny little green belts within the cities, and they mostly feed off domestic dogs and cats to survive. So yes, they can live in those areas, but the problem is they do come into conflict with humans, and are sometimes destroyed because of that. But they are adaptable. They can live in very close proximity to human beings. They change their behavior, becomes far more secretive than they are here. And generally, when they are living close to human beings, their mainstay in terms of food is domestic dogs and cats. There's even other animals. Brown hyenas often can live very close to human beings. In the mine dumps downtown Joburg, in the old gold mine dumps, there's brown hyenas living out there that come through and scavenge out of the dustbins in town that are picked up on CCTV TV cameras. Okay. Okay, Hook, I can't find any sign of you coming out. I'm going back. There's a strong possibility Tayla, he might have made a kill, he might not have. Which way did we go last time? I've checked here, checked there, okay. It's very difficult to say. If the opportunity arose and he did manage to catch something, he would have taken that. Although, likelihood is he probably went to sleep. As we discussed on the morning safari, that leopard and lion success rates are only about 10 to 15%. So only 1.5 times out of 10 are they actually successful in making a kill once they start the hunt. Then we're going to go back and drive. I think he might be sleeping under a thick bush near where I left him this morning. We shall see shortly. If we have no luck with Hukumuri now, I think I might leave Tayla and Herbie to work that area on foot, and I might do a quick squiz down the Mwati riverbed just to make sure he hasn't gone further to the east. Okay, speaking of Tayla and Herbie and who's it, and the Batman, let's go see how they're dealing with the afternoon heat.
It's hot. We are sweating. That's what's happening today. We're in the sauna on Bushwalk. It's wonderful. Right. So we haven't had much luck just yet. Sorry, Brent. We got distracted. We've been talking about various medicinal uses of plants, which we shall get into once we find them. One plant Herbie said he's going to try and show me over the next week is an African potato. I have not seen an African potato since the Eastern Cape, so we'll be searching for one and then hopefully dig it out. But this, however, is not an African potato. This is an African wattle. And beautiful, soft, lovely, comfy leaves. I think if I was going to make a bed and needed, well, something to put underneath my sleeping bag, I think I'd use big piles of the African wattle. Now, it's a tree that you'll see all year round with its leaves. It's drought resistant, so it was one of the few green things out in 2015. And it's got these lovely pods on. And I'd say to you, I had only just recently seen the pods of the African wattle. I don't know why I'd never noticed them before. Actually, there's some dry ones. And we opened up a fresh one the other day because I said they looked so nice. They looked like snow peas and I really wanted to eat one. Herbie said I mustn't eat one because they're poisonous to us as humans. However, I reckon that when the animals feed on it, kudu like this. I've seen elephants eating wattle, black rhino also nibbling on it. And, well, I suppose a lot of different things. Nyala probably too. I reckon if the elephants were to eat this, they'd actually help with the germination of the seed. And that's one of the biggest roles that elephants actually play. Is that because they've got such a poor digestive system, when they do eat pods that have got seeds inside them, it's really quite good because it softens the outer coating. See how I struggled to get into it? But what that would have done, what the elephants would have done, is that would have softened the casing, and once they would have come out whole in the dung, as soon as there's a bit of rain or any bit of moisture, they would sort of sprout a root fairly quickly. And they did a study with acacias, because we know how important acacias are out here to the environment, and we have thousands of different species all over the world. They don't just occur here in Africa. Now, they did this study with elephants, and they basically came to the conclusion that if an elephant eats an acacia tree and it has pods on it, that pod and those seeds inside have got a 75% chance of germination because of that, well, that whole thing of softening the casing. Whereas if they don't go through elephant's digestive system, only about 15% or so, which is pretty hectic if you ask me. So it's not a bad thing that elephants eat all the different vegetations out here, but this is also good, strong wood. It would be nice firewood. It's great for making furniture out of. They often use the wattle specifically to make axes. Well, they use the wood for the handles for the axes, which is quite cool. And then something that I've yet to find on this tree, which we'll try and have a look now, is the spittlebug, which we'll try and have a look for. Carla, I've never seen, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've ever seen a flower on the African wattle. Have we seen flowers on the African wattle? Craig, can you remember? I also can't. I actually cannot remember. If something's saying if it were to have flowers, they'd be yellow. I don't know why. But I can't ever recall seeing any little flowers on it at all. We'll have to just wait and see. So this tree also gets the spittlebug on it. Do any of you know what a spittlebug is? A frog hopper? It's basically a little insect or a bug that sits on the branches and typically burrows into the stems and will sort of feed on the phloem. So basically, again, the layer of where nutrients are transported between the roots and the leaves. It's a very sort of spongy layer, and it's sort of high in sugar and water. And those insects will suck up that. Often you'll go underneath the apple leaf, which is why it's known as the rain tree. They're the same thing. They're normally infested with spittlebugs too. And you'll find some things dripping on you. And it's all those excess sugars, well, being excreted from the rear end of the spittlebug, which is quite cool. But I have yet to find any on here. I haven't actually experienced a proper rain tree for a very, very long time. Again, last time, I'm trying to even think what tree it must have been. I've got a fly stuck on me. Get off of me. Anyways, I'm trying to remember what tree it was. It was one that was always in Port Elizabeth that had the secretion coming out of it. Very sweet. I've tasted it not knowing what it was. I think I've told you that story. Anyways, let's go to Steve. He's out of the car. Perhaps he's got some tracks in the sand.
Yes, we do have some tracks, Tayla. We have found something that I haven't seen in Djuma for some weeks, and I know some people have been requesting. And what we have found is the tracks of a zebra that has come in from that side. He's rolled around, or she, on her back. And here is some evidence in my hand that I've been scratching around. Can you see that white, very nice white hair? Now, if any of you out there have ever ridden a horse, you will know that they love to scratch their backs. And James corrects me because I made a comment that zebras can't roll all the way over. Apparently that is a non-truth, and in fact they can. So this zebra would have come in, had a bit of a slip over there. Can you see that slip? And then would have walked into the spot, lay down on the ground, done a bit of a roll, and then jumped up and run off again. Out of picture. It happened just like that. It happened just like that. Okay. So that was just my interpretation of what the zebra is doing, and he looked as happy as me after running away. Because zebras love to roll around on their back. They love to scratch themselves. They don't have fingers and claws and things. Can you imagine having a back and bottom the size of a zebra without any means of scratching it? You get very, very inventive, I am sure. I've watched zebras going onto branches and stumps, buffalo as well, and start scratching themselves. And they start getting this look on their face. I don't know if you've ever seen that look on a dog when you scratch that spot on a dog's tummy and it starts to do that thing with its leg. They start putting that face of absolute pleasure. So I'm feeling nice and satisfied after my roll in the sand. And we're going to go from my antics over to see what Brent Leo Smith is up to.
Okay, so we're just checking. I left Hukumuri just over here. I'm just having a look if he went for a snooze around that termite mound there. Okay, so if I was Hukumuri, this is where I would have had a snooze during the day. So we left him probably about 5 meters from here. Now, leopards are definitely far more terrestrial than arboreal. They will utilize trees, but 90% of the time you will see leopards on the ground, not up in the trees. And let me just have a quick look. So while we're following Hukumuri this morning, he was going from termite mound to termite mound. So the termite mounds, having a bit of clay in them, if he did climb up here, he's likely to have left a track. But he hasn't climbed up this termite mound. So he was there, he was sort of angling like that. Maybe let's go check the Mawati. But the problem with Hukumuri, he might have been sidetracked and disappeared off that way. You never know. Whew. Okay, let's keep moving. No, Lilia, no, animals do not need haircuts like you do. Their hair is very important. In a lot of cases, it protects them when they're fighting or from other animals. So no, Lilia, who's only 6 years old, animals do not need haircuts like you do. Okay, I think let's go check down towards the Mawati, just in case you went down there. Oh, let's go across to Steve and some feathered friends.
Thanks, Brent. I wonder if your termite mound is as active as ours. We have got probably 30, 40 birds here. Obviously the termites, the alates are coming out after the rain. And let's just have a moment to listen. Virtual starlings, magpie shrikes, Cape glossy starling, red hornbill, crescent barbet, fork-tailed drongo, southern black tit. There was even a lilac-breasted roller. There's more than 30 birds here, and they are all going absolutely nuts for the termite alates that are coming out. Now these feeding frenzies happen after rainfall. The termites can actually stay in the ground for over a year waiting to emerge with the rainfall, and the male and females, called alates, termite alates, will leave after the ground is soft. They will do what we call a nuptial flight, as the crested barbet. They'll do what we call a nuptial flight, and they've proven that there has to be even nuptial flights of about 2 meters, even 10 centimeters. The termites have to fly or they will not reproduce. So male and female will fly. They won't necessarily meet in the air, but the female will fly. She will land. The male will actually be able to track her for over a kilometer, find a female, and then they'll mate. And then because the ground is soft after the rain, they're able to burrow in and start their first colony, just with the two of them, the king and the queen. And they'll reproduce, and obviously the first offspring start to feed them before the queen becomes enormous and becomes impossible for her to move around. But an amazing food source, and these birds are taking full advantage. It's quite something to see, in fact. It's marvelous. All the comments coming through, bird frenzy, bird party, and a very good source of food as well for us. You know, we could survive with termite alates. There's the red-billed buffalo weaver as well, one of the small 5 from yesterday's drive that somebody wanted to see. I've even seen white-backed vultures sitting down on the ground feeding on termites. I've seen vervet monkeys standing and catching them with their hands and feeding on them. So enormous amount of nutrients and nourishment comes out of many, many termite mounds after the rain. And they think the purpose for the nuptial flight is to eliminate competition. They don't want a termite to leave the nest and to burrow in directly in next door. Otherwise, essentially, you know, you're just competing with the burrow you came from. So essentially the nuptial flight is to enable them to move away to areas not inhabited by the termite species. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the large fungus growing termite with the big sort of dome chamber that you see. And they've all gone very quiet. Still termites coming out. I think it was probably a little bit more frenetic before. There we go. This one's found a good spot. They taste a little bit like peanut butter, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit like peanut butter. If you enjoy peanut butter, the crunchy kind, it's exactly what they taste like. Samu, age 9. I've never heard of any Indian birds migrating here, but then again, the Amur falcon does come via India here. They breed, I think, in China and somewhere like that. There's also birds that come from Russia. The steppe eagle, they come all the way from Russia. So I think they probably come through via India on the way here. But those are the only 2 I can think of, and I don't know of them to be Indian. But there is an Indian bird that was introduced over 110, 15 years ago to South Africa called the Indian myna, which is part of the starling family, related to a number of the species we have sitting around here. And they have become naturalized, and their name now is called the common myna. We find them all over the cities in South Africa. We don't have any of them in the sort of indigenous natural areas in South Africa because the competition is too fierce. But in all of the cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town, they are quite prolific. But yet they did not migrate here. They were introduced by a man, of course. This is marvelous. So I know I'm always talking about termite mounds, but have a look at how much activity this one termite mound is producing this afternoon. Okay, well, we're going to leave our bird party. Let's go over to Tayla McCurdy, who's showing us some tracks.
We do. Look who we've got. We have got Hukamori's footprints. as you can see, in the, well, the mud, sand mud. And Herbie has just basically had us in tears. The reason why is that if you look, these ones actually did it the best. If you look very carefully on these tracks, can you see so it's like Hukamori. Sorry. Okay, let me repeat that. Sorry, I believe the one I bent over, I must have knocked my mic pack. But essentially what happens, hopefully it doesn't do it again, is that Hukamori sort of stands like this. So he's almost got like duck feet, if you will. And he walks like a hyena walks. And Herbie says, this is not me. I had absolutely nothing to do with this. Herbie's going to demonstrate. How does Hukamori walk? And he says, that is how James and Steph walk. I didn't put him up to that. That's what he said to us. So he's obviously come down here. And, I mean, this is from today. It's definitely from today. You can see. Okay, not when I do it. But I've got fairly flat shoes that would have been a little bit earlier today when it hadn't dried as much. But he's quite a heavy cat, though, as well. So when he does walk, he does definitely leave a print on the ground, which is quite cool to see these beautiful tracks. They would be perfect. I remember Megan at one point was trying to make molds of the animal footprints. And it's a pity we don't have any more of that plaster of Paris to work. Can I also just tell you a very funny story about that? It was the most hilarious day. What happened was Megan had asked Ali to go and buy some, plaster of Paris to make a mold. Oh, so Ali's like, sure, no problem. All of you know, Ali is Tristan's girlfriend, and she sometimes helps us out. She's also a safari guide, in case you haven't seen her on the show. What does Ali come back with? She takes a packet, she puts it in Megan's room. Megan comes back and she goes, why have I got plasters? Who bought me plasters? So there was a serious lost in translation. Ali just bought Megan like little plasters that you would put on a wound type thing. So that was quite funny. We thought that would make a really interesting mold, trying to make one out of plasters. It was funny at the time. You had to be there in case you're not laughing. It's one of those sort of stories. Oh, little hair tails flying around. Now, Herbie's jumped a bit further ahead. Bronwyn, so I'll answer this on Herbie's behalf. So Herbie's had the same guide training that I've had. But he's had additional training in the sense that he's grown up in the area. He probably would have started with, just around at home, tracking the dogs or maybe the chickens. I also tried to do that as a youngster, but I had nobody to teach me how to follow the footprints of an animal. So he would have had his father or his grandfather teaching him how to do these things. And I can only talk for a really cool story from my tracker down at Sabi Candy. He said that his dad would obviously give him some goats and he'd have to look after them for the day. He'd have to take them out, but he would never actually look after the goats. He'd let the goats go and graze and browse and eat everything as goats do, and he'd go play soccer with all his friends. But he knew that before sunset had arrived, he had to make sure he found all those goats and took them home. Because if he didn't go back with the same amount of goats his dad sent him off, he was not allowed to come home. And he said he learned the hard way. He lost one goat once. He eventually found it early hours of the next morning in amongst some buffalo. And he said never again, never ever again in his life did he ever come home without the goats. So he learned from a very, very young age how to not just track, so not just identify what's on the floor, but actually to trail as well, to be able to follow the animal and successfully find it, which is the most difficult thing. Well, it seems as though Steve is having a bit of a birding afternoon. Let's go see if these ones are also eating termites.
Yeah, thanks, Tayla. We've moved probably 30-40 meters from the last termite mound. We found a second termite mound with barn swallows that all seeming to move off now, but there was a whole swarm of barn swallows and even some European bee-eaters coming in and obviously dive bombing whatever termite activity was coming up. Here they're coming for another swoop around. There's also the starlings and the other birds from before have moved across to this termite mound. I actually went to the previous one to see if I could find any of the alates, and those greedy birds seem to have eaten them all before I could grab one. I really wanted to show you one of them, because they're generally far bigger than the termite itself. and now the barn swallows have moved off. So that was a little bit of an anticlimax. I apologize. But the starlings, nonetheless, are there. You can hear them having a little bit of a chirp. Okay, well, marvellous. That was not as exciting as the previous one, but they were coming in droves, the bee-eater and the barn swallow. And have you seen barn swallows before? I wonder. They are very common. 237. They're very common. They're known as the European swallow or the barn swallow. And here they are here. They breed up in Europe. As the name barn indicates, this is the top one here, Ferg. They breed up in Europe, and they should be leaving shortly, usually arriving in September, October, and they will be leaving pretty soon. They leave sometime as early as February, but when the food is coming through like it is now, they will stay to build up condition. If you can add more fuel to your fuel tank before going, you most certainly will. Sarah, this is called the European swallow, the barn swallow, and no, they breed in Europe. They breed in Europe exclusively, and then they come all the way down to South Africa to feed on our abundance of insects in the rainy season, as they were doing now, and they should be departing soon. They probably were left tomorrow if we didn't get the rain that we have, but the rain we have now is going to boost the insect numbers again, and it'll probably delay their departure. That is something that we are seeing on a global scale. Changes in climate due to global warming is affecting rainfall in a way that rainfall's either being pushed a bit later, also temperatures a bit cooler, so now we're seeing birds leaving later and arriving later, so the whole shift is changing because birds are able to move in response to climate and food, whereas a lot of the animals on a small scale aren't. So birds are a very, very good indicator of what's happening out in the world with regards to global warming. So watch them closely. Ashlyn, after the rain, the termites potentially, not every time it rains, after there's some rain, termite mounds might throw out their alates to go breeding. And when that happens, it's sort of like an event. It just happened there, probably for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You just get this abundance of alates coming out, and they will go there for that specifically. But normally, generally in the day, there's not too much going on in and around the termite mound for those birds to worry about. Here we've got a beautiful little young male impala who's being very brave, Ferg. Oh no, he was being very brave. Let's get the ones behind there. So Ashwin, basically what we do find sometimes in the winter months is the hornbills like to sit on top of the termite mound. That's giving off a little bit of heat. That is a very, very good indicator. They like to warm themselves in the morning. What are these impala looking at, Ferg? I wonder. And see, there's some oxpeckers on the impala's back. What could be up there? I think we're going to go and have a look, shall we? There's no alarm call happening, but you can see the intention on the eyes and the ears of the kudu, of the impala. It could be a steenbok just moving through the long grass. It could be a warthog. I have seen this before. But then also, it could be a leopard. There's no alarm calls happening as of yet. Quite nice and open here, so it's a good place for them to be hanging out. Keeping our eyes peeled. Hope you're all helping us to watch. Tell us if you spot the leopard, folks. You can hear the lapwings are shouting above our heads. Anticipation. I love anticipation. What could be hiding in the bushes here? Nix was doing the sort of Jaws tune in my ear a moment ago. Da-dum, da-dum. Oh, jackal. Black-backed jackal. Folks, we've spotted something. Well, the impala have spotted something. So you can see how reliable these animals can be. Where is he going, Ferg? Let's go this way. The jackal are very skittish in this part. I have not seen a jackal in this area for some time. Oh, and there it goes. And you see the lapwings are chasing it, bombing it. They're running around. The jackal's probably running around looking for maybe any eggs they might have, or maybe an injured lapwing on the floor. They're very opportunistic. Tristan was in this area just a couple days ago, and he saw the Shadulu female just out of nowhere jump up and nearly take a jackal. So maybe that's the same guy, and he's also subscribed to Safari Live, and he knows we follow leopards, so he thinks one is on our tail. This is the same car Tristan saw that happen in, so maybe he's associating it with that. So that's marvelous. You see how lovely it is for Impala to show us what's going on. See, have a look at them over there. Biza Impala are very good indicators of predators. You see where they are now. They're still looking where we are, still trying to figure out what was that thing running around on the floor, and they were correct in their caution. It was a jackal. Jackals can kill Impala, especially youngsters. It's not below them to do so, and they are a carnivore. They smell like a carnivore. So yes, Impala are one of the most reliable out here. Monkeys, I'd say, monkeys and baboons are very, very reliable. Giraffe as well. Impala and kudu, very, very reliable when they make alarm calls. And then I would say Franklin as well, if you listen to the correct call of the Franklin. But I don't pay too much attention to squirrels anymore, because they always send me down the wrong path. So marvelous. Good to keep your eyes and ears open, and understandable why those Impala are a little bit skittish. But nice to see the intention. When I talk about animal body language, that is exactly what we meant. And when lions look in direction, there's intention. Leopards look in a direction, there's intention. If you can understand that, you'll be able to anticipate what is about to happen. Animals don't lie in their behavior. They're very obvious in it. Marvelous. Oh, and there's a Franklin. Speaking of Franklins, this is all happening. Here's the crested Franklin. You can see by the very white supercilium. That's the white line behind or across the eye. Oh, he's not being very shy today. How pretty is that bird? Very pretty. Feeds on a lot of seeds, insects in the wet season, and will start scratching up corms and bulbs and even eat grass in the winter time. You eat what you need to eat. Are we good, Ferg? Let's move on, shall we? Yes, Matt, we are going to keep our eyes peeled here. Matt reckons the leopard might have been running from something. Matt, I think it was running from us. Last time, sorry, the jackal. Last time, the jackal was running away. Last time the jackal saw this vehicle in this exact same area, a leopard nearly killed it. So it's associated our vehicle as well, probably. Very hard to habituate a jackal. Very, very hard to habituate them. They move in really large distances, and it's probably not even from this area. It's just moving through, and suddenly sees this big machine that smells of some funny fuel type of thing, and it wasn't very happy with that. And at the same time, the crowned lapwings were dive bombing it on its head, so it was for his best interest to move off. Mina, a young jackal is called a pup, I do believe. They are part of the dog family, so we'll call them a pup. Tayla, I know, loves her jackals. She had some marvelous encounters with them up in the Mara. So I don't know if you can see on the road, folks, but it's a clean slate because of the rainfall. So there's been absolutely nothing that's really walked along the road here, or nothing that's left any form of permanent footprint. And that's because a lot of the animals will choose not to move in these conditions, because why do animals move? For one, it's for water, and for two, see, there we go, there's our lone wildebeest male. They move in response to food and water, and if there's food around and they just have to lick the grasses, they'll get enough moisture. No need to make that long, arduous, dangerous journey to water when you can just stay where you are. Because as you've seen, folks, where do we normally find the cats? close to the water, don't we? So it's better if you don't have to go there. Here you see this male canoe chewing the cud. And we spoke about before with the steenbok. Wildebeest is a ruminant, 4-chambered stomach animal, and they maximize the nutritional quality or content they can get this time of year. So while chewing the cud, they don't need to actively sleep. Their brain capacity lowers to that of a sleeping animal. They're very zen-like in that, very meditative. And you see he's put his back to the sun, so he's limiting his exposure to the heat. Marvelous. Not too concerned. So by the look of him, you can tell that down this road there doesn't seem to be any activity of a leopard or a lion, because he is looking about as relaxed as the Buddha himself. Onward we go, Ferg. What a marvelous afternoon. There was some real cloud build-up all around. We were thinking we might get some more storms coming in, but it appears as if it has moved off. Okay, so that is the kind of tracks that I wanted to show. Kerry, wildebeest used to be a lot more common in the Sabi sands than they are these days. There's been a lot of bush encroachment due to the fact that there's a lot of water available, but this has happened over the last 60, 70 years, and so wildebeest numbers have gone down, certainly, but there used to be a lot more of them. Same as zebra. The zebra also seem to move to more open areas. They are both grassland specialists, the zebra and the wildebeest, and when the habitat changes to that where there's more trees than grass, they generally tend to move. But when you find a male wildebeest, he tends to have a territory, and they're called sedentary. He will not move. He will stay here until he dies. That is the way it works. So there we got tracks of a hyena. I'm going to quickly jump out the car. Hopefully I'm not going to get in the way of the camera. Apologies. And you can see how it's walked into the road, and the soil here is was a little bit thicker earlier when it was wet. You can actually see where the hyena slid into the road. You see it's dried from the day, and then it stepped again. This was probably while it was raining, at the height of the rain. Here's the beautiful track over here. You can see the back pad. It's got that kidney shape. Can you see that, Ferg? Beautiful kidney shape. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, the very nice claw mark. But as the hyenas moved along, you can see again more tracks. And then as the road gets harder, those tracks just disappear. So that's what we're contending with right now, trying to track an animal on ground that is very hard now, unless they step in this very hard stuff, or this deep sort of accumulated sand that's come down the road. It makes it very, very tricky indeed. And when a leopard walks, it walks very gently, very delicately. That's why Brent and Herbie are having such a hard time. So are we. Okay. Okay, so Brent's apparently got much better signal now, so let's go back over to him for an update.
Sensei is amusing himself, so I'm driving and I'm looking for tracks, and then all of a sudden I see Senzo making shadow puppets behind me. I'm trying to concentrate. I see Senzo waving at me. I'm trying to look for tracks here, Senzo, and I just see this waving happening behind me. Anyway, or in front of me in the shadow. So we just got a little report of tracks of Kuchava from after the rain, but the tracks were driven over. So I'm just quickly checking here. Now Herbie's calling me. Just 1 second. Oh dear, I pushed the wrong button. Standing by, Herb. So I just want to make sure she hasn't crossed north. Negative, Herb. Western side of Weaver's Nest. Western side of Weaver's Nest. Where the big, so if you see the big scotia on the termite mound, due west from there on the other side of the Tayla. Sorry, just letting Herbie know the last spot where we saw him. FM. I've checked treehouse. Now, Kuchava tracks were around here. I'm just trying to make sure she hasn't disappeared into Torchwood. She likes to cross around here, so let's have a quick look where the tracks are easy to see. Now, quite often we find leopards around riverine or drainage systems. First Lady, the reason for that is generally quite a lot of their favorite prey hang around there. Bushbuck, nyala, impala. There's access to nice trees for hoisting. There's nice trees for hoisting. It's generally a bit cooler. Nice sand to lie in if you're hot. But leopards are adaptable and will be all over the place. But they do tend to prefer little river systems. And it's also just because the prey density around those little river systems is very good. They've got good cover. So you've got your quarry thickets, and then you've got your ancient floodplains, like that area around Spaghetti Junction with Pan. So not only do you have the Inyala and the Impala, you've got warthog coming into those areas. You've got Impala and warthog, not only Inyala and bushbuck. So it's a very good area in terms of high density of prey species, high density of cover, comfort in terms of temperature when it's very hot, and also very accessible trees for hoisting kills into. Your leopard territories around major rivers and things like that. So for example, let's take the Sand River down south in the Sabi Sands. Your average female leopard territory there is no more than 500 hectares, so just over 1,000 acres, where here you're looking at an average female territory of around 3.5 to 4,000 acres. So it's just really ideal habitat. Now that's on a much bigger river system, of course. Now we're just checking here. Well, it seems like Steve has gone to the birds today.
I have indeed, Brent. We found another termite mound, and this time the birds are physically doing it now. We can see them all flying. Look at all of them, the barn swallows, the European bee-eaters. They are absolutely loving the spoils coming out of this termite mound. And we were also joined in the tree by Wahlberg's eagle that came flying in. They also are very, very loving of termites. There you can see him. Come and landed right there. Oops, there's a toilet spot. He came and flew in. We saw a second one fly off. And they will actually feed quite a lot on termites and other insects. That is one of the reasons why they will move pretty soon once the sort of vegetation, not the vegetation, the food resource diminishes. They move because then they start competing directly with the larger raptors for food, such as rodents and other sorts of things like that. So they will move up north as the insect populations and the abundance of rodents, which happens in our summertime, diminishes. But this is marvelous. The bee-eaters, the barn swallows. There's a fork-tailed drongo there. Loving life. Fork-tailed drongos practicing behavior called hawking as they fly and then land again. There goes another Wahlberg's. This is absolutely fantastic. Sorry about that, Ferg. Multitudes of birds just following each termite mound as they erupt. Like vultures to a kill, it seems. Ants in your pants, what a marvelous name. The largest termite mound I've ever seen is probably twice as big, 3 times as big as the one that Ferg is looking at there. Very hard to get a perspective on it now, but I think the largest one is actually I've seen is here in Djuma. We might, I'm trying to think where we are right now. We might get to it. It is, yeah, probably between 12 to 15 feet in height, which I think is quite a marvelous structure. You can hear the crested barbet in the background. Barn swallows, European bee-eaters, The birds are absolutely loving the rainfall. If you're an insect eater, wouldn't you? It's just food on tap, a smorgasbord. Okay, well, we're going to move on from here and probably find more birds as we go, but let's go over to Tayla, who is doing a bit of CSI investigation.
I feel like that's our theme this afternoon, but this time no ants eating anything, not third time lucky, but we do have the termite mound that Hukumuri was last seen at. Where did he go? He went east, because Herbie found his tracks. Now, if you're wondering why I've got a book on my head, I always bring a book with me when I go on a walk. However, today I've decided that I'm going to keep it on top of my head to practice my posture, and I've been quite good. The only time it drops off is when I look at my shoes, naturally. Anyways, we know why Hukumuri was at this termite mound. We're not going to go and stand in front of it because there's a deep, dark hole burrowing inside of it, and I did see some warthog tracks. So I think that he was trying to sniff out pigs. We know he was interested in some pigs with Brent for most of the morning. So he's just been walking around from termite mound to termite mound. But obviously later on in the day when he was still moving, I don't think any of the pigs would have been inside the burrow unless they'd actually been cornered or trapped in there by Hukumuri. It was a nice warm day after the clouds sort of cleared. I mean, before drive ended, there was a bit of sun. So they all would have left their burrows to go out feeding on all the lovely grass seeds that are still sprouting around. So Herbie said he's gone sort of east, which is difficult because it kind of goes down into a really thick drainage line back towards sort of Twin Dam side. So we're going to see if we can figure out where to go next. Let's go. Let's follow Herbie. Now, Paula, a question that only the ants and termites, I suppose, can answer. In this case, the termite mound. I don't know how long it would take to build a termite mound, because what you're actually seeing is kind of like an iceberg, Paula. That's only a third of the mound. 2/3 is actually below the surface of the earth. So they start building it underneath the ground and essentially start from the bottom and go up. So I think a mound like this is probably well over 50 years. Quite easily, and pretty amazing. I don't know if it's so active anymore. You can see there's quite a bit of grass growing on it, which is normally an indication that it's not really active, and I don't see any fresh sort of chimneys. I've just heard some go-away birds alarming. No, now they've stopped. So maybe it wasn't anything too important. Okay, Herbie says we must keep going. I think he's got his tracks actually going through and along this way. Now, LJK, I don't think it's necessarily sort of, well, I don't think they abandon the mound. I think what happens is that we'll just say, yes, we saw it, because I don't see half the things that Herbie sees. But don't tell him. His eyes are so much better than mine. I just nod and go, okay. Hey, Herbie, we never see the same things. Okay, it seems as though there's a couple of gremlins around. I will finish the story about the termites, but off we go to Steve.
Thank you very much. Sorry about the gremlins with Tayla there, folks. With the bush packback, sometimes if you just go into a small depression, it's a little bit of a signal shadow. So we do apologize about that. But never fear, we have found some more birds, and they happen to be with some mammals this time, which is quite marvelous. But just to have a look at that, you know, one of the topics that we used to do a lot of when I was doing guide training was you always wanted the students to link everything they spoke about. And one of the links was always arthropods. And arthropods, for those of you who are unsure, are insects. And it's very easy, as you can see, just in this drive, to go about and talk about insects. Because here we've got kudu, and the kudu are carriers of ticks, and the oxpeckers are feeding on ticks, which are arthropods. How marvelous is that? The termites, arthropods. So many things out here are very easy to link. So many of those birds you saw before were all insect eaters, not necessarily only termites. They feed on the arthropod, the plethora of arthropods that inundates our landscape during our summer months. And what have I done? I've made myself a fly swatter which is to prevent the arthropods from landing on my face. So the linking continues. Let's leave these kudu to them. Let's leave this kudu to their wanderings as we move on and off again. That wildebeest male has been very busy up and down here, catching up. What a lot of animals will do, and this is something I expect to happen this evening, is because of the rainfall. It probably has been happening already as we speak, but because of the rainfall, animals that are territorial, especially if they're urine-scented territorial animals, they go and remark their territory, because rain washes it all away. So, because the rain washes it all away. Sorry, my signal's going a bit low, so we just finished my story in the stopped position. So they will walk around and re-scent mark again. And the purpose for that is that it's been washed away. And if they don't re-scent mark, they're just opening the door to a challenge. If a young male or a male moving into an area wants to take a claim, he walks in and there's no scent, and he's going to walk in there seemingly unchallenged. But if he comes to a scent line and goes, okay, there's someone here, and he still wants to cross it, then he is posing a threat. But if he crosses it unknowingly, then he could potentially end up in confrontation with another male that he doesn't really want to be in, and that could be to his detriment. So the purpose of territory is to prevent animals coming in, and only those who pose a threat and are
multiple reasons. Checking for Kachava, it seems like she's crossed north, unfortunately, and also checking to see if Hasana has come back from the north. I think Hasana must be sitting on a kill because he hasn't been being his normal naughty self for a couple of days. So it was a good little squiz, so we know what's about for tomorrow morning, and also just waiting for the temperature to drop a little bit, and Hukumuri to possibly get on the move, because I'm quite convinced he's still in that area there somewhere, close by to where we left him this morning. Or maybe Herbie and Tayla will have some luck on foot, fingers crossed. So we're going to head back towards that area now. Now, there's been a bit of a leopard battle going on, or there was one witnessed last week, but what we thought was between Shidulu and Thandi. Sure. If it was Thandi, it most likely was. Even if she was bleeding, especially if she was bleeding from the mouth, that wound would be very difficult to see. So I'm pretty sure it was Thandi fighting with Shidulu. Just from where Tristan left her and where the interaction took place, it's very unlikely that it was a different leopard. I mean, who knows? Okay. So one last little gamble on Hasana in case he crossed before the rain last night, down around the Mulwanini. Well, I can hear you. There. Okay, we go forward a bit for you, Sands. Right at the top. See him right on the pinpoint of that knobthorn, making squawking noises. And there's only one family of birds that can squawk like that. There he is. Hello, you. Squawker. Brown-headed parrot. There we go. You can hear the very parrot-like noises. Let's have a look. Oh, isn't that fascinating? So he's in the top of a knobthorn, but you can see that doesn't look like an acacia leaf, and that doesn't look like an acacia fruit. So what that parrot is feeding on is, I'm going to ask you to tell me. So it's another plant that's growing in an acacia tree. It's got very sticky, very sweet seeds that attract birds. And who can tell me what is growing inside another tree? Oh, off they go. Not too far though. There's another one a little bit lower. Same. Nicola Austin. Okay, so where that other one was, Zens? Just back to where the first one was. Isn't there not another one behind there? No, left. There we go. Zoom. No, it's not. Okay, they're still up there. Nicola, you are wrong. Nicola Austin in final control. It is not a type of fig at all. There we go, Nicola, second guess. But if you guys know what it is, hashtag Safari Live. A little clue. It's very popular around Christmas time. And if you look through the knobthorn, you can actually see the knobthorn seeds, that the parrots are actually feeding off that another one of those plants on the other side. Let me just try and move, Sens, if we can see if we can get a... Oh no, there we go, he's popping out. Oh, we've got Project Alpha and Karen are spot on, but we're going to give a few other people a chance to get some answers in, but well done, Project Alpha and Karen. Oh, look at that. He's absolutely loving it. Now, one of the ways this parasitic plant moves from tree to tree is that their seeds are very sticky, and they are actually transported on the feet of a certain bird species. It's normally acacia-pied barbets that move them around, but sometimes parrots and other birds will also move them from tree to tree. You can see, very picky, only going after the ripe berries. Well, it seems like mistletoe's too easy. Well done to everyone who's got that right. It is indeed mistletoe that the parrots are feeding off. Mistletoe is used traditionally to make bird lime. So I said the seeds are very sticky, and that was how they transport them from tree to tree. And so bird lime is made. So bird lime is how traditional hunters would have caught birds. You can see how sticky it is on their beaks. And there we go, you've got to clean it. Sticky. It's like eating a toffee apple. Lovely camera work there, Sens. Off he goes. Oh, off after another ripe one. You can see the little red ones. So as I was saying, bird lime is made, so the mistletoe will be sort of bubbled up in a pot, and a very sticky substance is left, and then some food will be left out on top of a layer of that, and a lot... Is it eating a what? No, he's still there. It's just moved behind. That's fine. There, see, there. So let me just go. Let me just help Sens quickly out. Keep talking. There we go. A little bit down. Center frame. There he is. So that mistletoe is bubbled down and laid along the ground, and then maize meal or pup is put down, and birds like doves and stuff will actually get stuck in it, and you can pluck them for dinner. Now, Laura, I don't know whether African mistletoe is noxious to people, but European mistletoe might be. But birds will eat a lot of fruits that people can't eat, that are noxious towards us. Their digestive systems work quite differently. Just look at them go. I always love watching parrots with their zygodactyl feet. So 2 toes facing backwards, 2 toes forward. You can see how they clamber around, and they almost use their beak as an extra appendage to climb. Now, that's climbing through a very thorny tree, and doing it with absolute ease. Oh, you dropped that one. And see, watch how they use their beaks as they climb as well. He's after new fruit. Whoop, hopped all the way down. How far down did we go? Maybe not. Let me just have a quick look now. I've lost sight. Oh, there. You see where he flapped, Sense? Right in the light. Okay, down a little bit. Left a little bit. There we go. He came out into some golden light for a second. Hopefully he'll do it again now. But you can see there's probably 5 or 6 different mistletoe plants in this very big knobthorn. There we go. Clean your beak. Oh, and they're gone. Taken off, flown off. That was lovely. Absolutely lovely sighting of those brown-headed parrots. And now I can feel the temperature drop ever so slightly, so fingers crossed. Okomori might be up on the move, so I'm going to start moving towards the area where we last had him. Okay, well, we make legs across back to Djuma. Let's go across to Steve, who's got something with many legs.
Thank you very much, Brent. We have got ourselves a shongololo, also known as a millipede. Look at this guy. How cool is he? He is a detritivore. Look at those legs. Absolutely incredible. I've been looking really closely at him now. He doesn't seem to have any eyes. And I think that's quite marvelous. I think everything he relies on is those very sensitive antennae. I'm not harming him at all now, folks. I'm not harming him at all now, just so that you know. See if we can hold him there for a second. Look at those very sensitive antennae. Oh, sorry about my hat. Here he is. Very difficult trying to get him to go where I want him to go, but he is looking for some food. When I say detritivore, they are constantly in the search of dead and decaying material, which they then break down. These guys are probably second to the termites with regards to breaking down of organic material, and that is very, very important in the ecosystem. It's amazing how they can be nowhere to be seen, and then as soon as you see rain, out they come in their millions to feed and to mate. And after mating, they lay eggs, and process starts again. This is a relatively big one. They do get bigger. I have no idea how to tell male and female apart, but poisonous to eat. If I had to eat this, I would probably die. But I've seen documentaries where bush babies, or what was it? It was lemurs in Madagascar were actually rubbing these things and annoying them because they give off a type of cyanide, and they were rubbing them and sort of letting the secretion. Look at how those legs work. Letting the secretion go onto them, and they were sort of ingesting it and going on their skin. And they actually went into a complete acid trip. Look at that. Look at those legs, folks. Marvelous, eh? And off he goes. So I'm going to give you one last look at this beautiful millipede, known in South Africa to most people as a shongololo. And I'm going to put him back on the ground where I found him. Off you go, little fella. And let me move the car quickly before he goes underneath the wheels. Really, though, they do not bite. They have got cyanide inside, almost a type of cyanide, which makes them very sort of distasteful and poisonous to most things. But we have found lots of animals eating them now. I mean, I saw dwarf mongoose. I saw them in the scat of dwarf mongoose. Gregory, who's the specs hinge tortoise around camp, ate one. There's another one there. So I find it quite amazing the amounts of animals that are actually eating them, considering what I've heard about the toxicity of these animals. So they don't bite. Their mouth parts are just for breaking down very small particles. So there's no form of biting there at all. But the centipede, on the other hand, which has got sort of to this side and to that side, those are venomous. They can bite and they can sting, and they can also kill you. So we'll stay away from centipedes. Poisonous. The millipedes are poisonous. So toxic if you eat it. Yes, toxicity and poison is pretty much the same sort of thing. If you ingest it toxin that could potentially be life-threatening. Rhonda, that's a marvelous idea. Rhonda says that females curl up when you touch them and males don't. I don't know why that would be. I know that millipedes curl up in a ball as a defense mechanism, as a means of protecting themselves from being swallowed whole by a bird. As we've seen, a lot of the birds we find around here aren't able to just sort of swallow something if it's too big. If it's a worm like that, they can sort of get it down, head to tail. But if it curls up in a ball, it becomes a huge donut that they can't swallow. So that is what I know that they do as a form of defense against those animals that will try and feed on them. But one of their primary predators is the civet, and also many scorpion species enjoy millipedes for dinner, breakfast and lunch. And you can actually tell in a civetry is a civet toilet, what time of year that dung was deposited by the increase in millipede sort of shells. Because they're very, very white, and there's a lot of insects and birds included, not insects, a lot of birds, and some mammals will even eat those millipede shells to get calcium into the diet, just like eating bone or eating hyena dung, which is full of bone, something that tortoises are known to do. Maybe that's why Gregory the tortoise enjoyed the millipede. Alien girl, I have no idea how many legs they have when they hatch. I really don't. They are just little mini versions of that. Little mini versions. And then they just get bigger and bigger. You don't seem to get that sort of intermediate stage. You get lots of little ones and then lots of big ones, but there are not too many sort of medium-sized ones. So I don't know. I think they just keep multiplying. I have no idea how many legs from birth are. Apologies for that. I would ask Ferg, but I doubt he would know. Ferg? No, Ferg has no idea. That's okay. I don't even know how many legs they actually have. An Afrikaans name for them is a duisendpoot, which basically means 1,000 leg, but I don't think there's that many on there. It's probably not even 100. Plus minus, somewhere around there. So I don't know. I was getting transfixed trying to count the legs because they were all moving in this Mexican wave sort of thing. Made it very difficult to focus. Okay, so the ground is still hard. There's not too many tracks. There were some tracks of hyena there. Hoping on this sort of surface here we might see some leopard tracks. But it is also that time of day, ladies and gentlemen, where, you know, leopards just sort of come out and say, hello, Steve, hello, Ferg. You know how it works. It seems to happen at this time of day. It's called leopard o'clock. As the light starts to fade, it is rather cool, and as I mentioned, it would be quite good for the leopards, or they will be walking around to sort of re-scent mark their territories. Everyone is giving some guesses on male and female. Please send through those. Make sure you tag me if you can, so I can follow up on that later on Twitter. I would like to know. I have no idea. I'm sure there's a couple of you out there that would have the information, so please share that with us. What a marvelous afternoon. Good weather, good company. Thank you for joining us. Wonderful bird parties we've had. And I saw a bird just fly over a moment ago that we weren't able to show you on the camera. Very hard to see them. But it was an African swift. Or sorry, a black swift, which is quite a special bird for me. Let's go over to Tayla McCurdy, who's still on foot, and she is busy. I'm not sure with what, but let's see.
Do you remember, long time ago, haven't been here for a while. Oh, Craig, I don't know how to do it. If you come in, I'll move away. Oh. Okay, we might not be able to show you, but I'll just point. Basically, inside over here, you can see there's a waxy little tunnel. Can you see that? On this fallen log, and there's some mapani bees, little stingless bees that are actually living in there. If I pull that down, Here we go. You've got it. So there we go. So that little waxy bit that you can see. Sorry, I'm trying to keep that down. So we found this a long time ago, but it doesn't look like it's active right now. But it's also coming. Okay. The awkward position for Craig and me. Dipping signal here, so we won't stay there for too long. But on a nice hot day, you can actually see them working, which is quite cool. Herbie's got a stick out. He's got his footprints, Herb. Ah. Anymore. We're going to walk into the golden light. And I suppose because we had those tracks that were relatively fresh, we better just check very carefully as we approach the dam, or the pan, sorry, to make sure. Ooh, this grass is not nice to walk through. It's making my legs itchy. Let's go get through to the shorter stuff. Let's have a little scratch around here. Maybe we see some cool things at the water. Oh, you're back with us. Sorry about that. Apparently some gremlins got us. How rude. They're very nasty today. To get some more of that anti-gremlin spray on the next town trip. Herbie's pointing at the ground again. This time, Herbie's so funny. He's hysterical. This time we've got leopard tracks. Here we go. Look who's come to have a drink over here. Hukumuri was here. This is today, and I can hear Brent. There's no doubt that that's a Land Rover, a little Land Rover that's buzzing about in the Murati. So his next movements probably would have been in the direction that Herbie's going, maybe around. He's hungry. He's looking for something to eat. So he did chase some warthogs around. We also had some warthog tracks when we went offline for a little bit, just over there, which was quite cool. And they were running for dear life, as you can imagine a warthog would when it sees Ukumuri. So they've disappeared. They're not around here. And it's so hard, though, to try and see. Herbie's checking that side. Let's just check over here, the opposite side. Though I could just be staring at this, and the leopard could have written his name in the sand, and I probably wouldn't see it anyways. There's another animal pathway here. Another little pan. I don't think he would have drank a second time. I think he would have got his sort of fill back there. No, doesn't look like anything has walked yet at all. Okay, he would have had a bit of muddy feet too, so they should have left some nice tracks. Oh, okay. I don't know if we can. We have a feeling that I actually was trying to do a quiz with you earlier, and we think that the gremlins may have attacked us during that time because none of you are answering. Which makes sense because you all normally play the games. Anyways, we did have some toes in the sand, and it was Southern Ground Hornbill tracks that we did have. But that's okay. Maybe we see some more because they were also coming in this direction too. So, sorry for that. Blame the gremlins. He's just around the corner here. I can hear the Game Drive radio. I can hear Brent as well. Brent is just down here, so all I'm going to do now is flick you on over, and next moment you'll know you'll be in Brent's car.
Well, I just spotted Herbie at the same time. Obviously both looking, here we go. I've got Hukumuri's tracks. They're going straight up here now. So let's have a look. There's Nkonzo over there, Herb. So there's Herbie. Hello, Herb. Here we go. So Tayla can't be too far behind. Let's run away quickly before Tayla comes, because I can see she's trying to hide. And so is Batman, but they both look ridiculous. There they are. So his tracks are going straight up here. I'm just going to drive for a little bit until I can't anymore and leave the tracks for you, and then I'll go around onto Batalia. See, look, Taylor's carrying a book in case she forgets where to go. Wait, Taylor, the last time you start doing this type of stuff, this is when you fall. Quickly, throw something. Craig, throw something. I was just waiting for you to trip down on the hill. As soon as you start doing this stuff is generally when you fall over. She said she's been practicing that move all afternoon, but generally when Taylor starts doing that type of stuff, it's when Taylor falls over. But so And we can have a look quickly here, Sense. You have a look. There's a leaf in the track. Oh, a little bit to the right. There we go. That's Okumori. So let's go have a look. So we'll go for as far as we can up the riverbed here. Now he is sort of almost turned back towards camp, towards the dam. So we're in the river below the dam. And his tracks are still here. Still here. Might have come for a nice snooze in the river. But these tracks are looking quite fresh. I think they moved onto your side there, Sens. The looks of things. Unless he did a little sneaky maneuver. Oh dear, Hokumuri is being very sneaky. Not seeing tracks here. It looks like he might have got headed up towards Batalia. But once you commit to this part of the world, in terms of driving, you have to stick for it for a while because there's not that many places to turn around. Right, does he come back? Okay, so he didn't come up here. That means I'm pretty sure he's gone up that way towards Batalia Road. So I'm just going to let Herbie know. And then I'm going to cross around to Batalia Road. You're holding on, Sense. Maybe Nkonzo goes out towards Vulture's Nest. Not Batalia Road. I was talking absolute twaddle. Copy, Herb. Leopards do have scent glands, Tom, on their feet, on their face. There's the last track, so he disappeared up there. Let's go check Batalia quickly. Bumpity bump, hold on. Whee! Always fun driving in the sand. Up, 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 up. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. So his tracks are quite fresh, so that's why I'm moving quite quickly. Hopefully we catch him strolling down the road. Bless you, Sens. Oh, bug in the eye. Oh, evil little blighter. Okay, so I just want to check very carefully here because he could have very easily headed towards Nyala Road South as well. Oh, keep a lookout on the dam cam for me, guys. He might be heading in that direction. So I'd say he would have come through here. Now the road is very hard, so I'm not going to risk destroying tracks. I'm going to jump out and have a look. Oh dear, pulled out my earpiece as well. Put that back.